One of the more difficult types of questions on this exam deals with rates, and in particular, people seem to struggle with average speed questions. Well, what is average speed? If you drive, you can think about what you see on your odometer. If you don't drive yet, you could just think about maybe riding a bicycle or even walking. Average speed will just be the total distance divided by the total time it takes you to get to your destination. And again, if you think about it in units, you drive in miles per hour or you walk at feet per second. The units will always be distance over time. So hopefully that should make sense. A typical question might be, let's say here is home and here is school. And while you're walking from home to school, you walk at a rate of, say, 5 miles per hour. On the way back, though, you catch a ride from your friend, and your friend is driving maybe at 45 miles per hour. The question would be, what is your average speed for the entire trip? Now, in order to utilize this question, we would need both distance and time. And so we're going to be using this generic equation, d is equal to RT, where d is the distance, r is the rate that you're traveling at, and t is the total time it takes you to travel that distance at that specific rate. The only problem is we're only given rate. We don't know what time is, and we aren't given what distance is. In this case, because from home to school and from school back home distance is the same, we can feel free to plug in our own number. And let's just make that a nice round number. Let's say distance is equal to 10. So going from home to school, we have a distance equation. 10 is equal to the rate times time, so t would equal 2. From school back home, the same distance, 10 is equal to 45t, so t is equal to 10 divided by 45, or we can simplify that to 2/9. Next, the average speed. Now we can plug in what we have. The total distance over the total time would be, we traveled 10 miles to school and another 10 miles back, so a total distance of 20. And the time it took was 2 hours initially, and on the way back it took 2/9 hours. So here we have 20 divided by, what would that be? 20 divided by 9. If we simplify that further, it would take, or we would get 9, and so our average speed would be 9 miles per hour. Now we have to think and see if that makes sense. We definitely want an average speed somewhere between 5 and 45, but why is it so close to 5, and does that make sense? Well, it should, because a lot more of the time was spent walking and going at a rate of 5 miles per hour than it was coming back home at a more fast rate at 45 miles per hour. So we definitely want to have the average speed leaning toward the slower rate. One equation that you might want to memorize would be 2 times r1 times r2 divided by r1 plus r2. This actually equals the average speed as well, but there's an asterisk. This equation is very special, and you can only use it when the two distances traveled are exactly the same. So in this case, it is applicable. We're going from home to school and from school back home, so the distances are the same. Had you gone from home to school and then from school, say, to the beach, and then from the beach back home, this equation no longer applies because now the distances aren't the same. So let's see how this works. We have 2 times the first rate, which is 5, times the second rate, which is 45, and we divide that by rate 1, which is 5, plus rate 2, which is 45. Here we get 2 times 5 times 45, which would give us 10 times 45, 450, divided by the denominator, which would be 50. And again, we get 9, which matches our answer. So again, this is a really useful equation to know. But again, remember the asterisk, you can only apply this average speed equation when the two distances, to and back, are exactly the same. So again, from home to school, from school to home. If you add a third leg to, whatever distance you travel, then this definitely does not apply. So most importantly, I would recommend you memorize this total distance over total time equation, because this equation will work in every single scenario where you're required to find the average speed.